22 July 2021, 22. We will keep moving from the point we stopped. We could observe that if we have the same design and drivers associated with variable, how this can go. We have this situation presented as a functional and structural design for comparative measurement, considering the same input in both structures with independent terms, but inside the function they kind of must have them all the same reading about something qualified. And of course that if the corruption is a crime, all consequence coming from corruption must be considered part of the crime as the iter criminis. If you have the entrance by corruption, your entire career is made as a criminal purpose. And anyway, we understand the conditio sine qua non, that even very essential to unfortunately have the criminal result. This model goes like this. The question is quite simple. We have, and that it's an explanation. We have the same design, but the driver associated with the variable can change. It allows the review of all judicial systems, considering the distribution as driver A or structure A, structure B, presenting the same element, for instance the corruption, they will have the failure as A, small letter, up to 197, and equally B, and this allows the factorization and the dismiss. But the causality that indeed you kind of has. We had this module presented before yesterday, which was the comparative measurement between the vote system Brazil, the vote system USA. Here we have the comparative measurement considering the judicial system Brazil, the judicial system USA, and of course that the regulatory arguments and the Court as Human Rights and the International Criminal Court, the technical stuff. The comparative measurement goes like this. I will have the vote system and the financial system. I will have the communication into both, because it doesn't matter if it will be analogic or by a digital entrance and procedure as a learning or reading procedure, that you must have the same output and conclusion. And to be in the same way at the financial system, I will observe that the communication implies the interest as security or cybersecurity, but cybersecurity is security with a property named qualitative property as the cybersecurity, putting a segment on it, and a contract made to achieve and explain the security. We will observe that the vote, considering the machine, the box machine that do the counting of votes, and the cash machine that you have, in two cases we will have the need as security, and that this case as cyber security, with a variable that you do a contract. It means that the common element is the box machine. It doesn't matter if the segment will be on electoral system or at the financial system. It will be your box machine. And the common element at the box machine is the contract made by a person. First thing that we had today, we have this yesterday, and we will only put general lines here, kind of explaining a bit, maybe, as the behavior as functionality. We could observe that the relation between the two electoral procedures, America and USA, will go by the kind of procedural rule made or put to run this electoral procedure. In America, you will have the counting of votes by human resources. It means that you will have your electoral system that can have the counting of voters by a human resource. Counting of voters X as a human resource. Or you can have this made by a machine, as a box machine, counting the voters. And this we will have as control that the counting procedure by a human resource, we have an independent term here, an independent term here, but as a function. We had yesterday that won't be presented as the function setting a system of control. And then I will have plus my independent term here, plus my independent term here. And I will replace this independent term by the complementary as a relation when we study the Venn diagram and things like this. Because if my electoral procedure has no failure, no problem, and no element as corruption, it doesn't matter if the coming and going as counting of votes or regression as voters counted will have no noise. It means that here I will consider that my term B is the opposite as counting of votes considering human resources or box machine. In other words, my term B here as counting of voters will be the box machine counting votes that is equal B. And here will be human resources counting voters that is equal B. Here I have my system as control. If you do the integration, you can do, but I think that this is not the purpose. We are kind of having only this reading, because indeed this reading we had before, and goes like this. We will observe that we have the relation as trace language, the new tracer, which can go observing the loss of integrity at my regular area until have the loss as capacity to act regular at the regular area. The trace goes like this, the zone that has this intersection until have value switched. At the organized crime, the organized crime, when got associated with public corruption, Indeed, will unfortunately or in a very lucky way have failed on it. In general, the chair on public corruption will offer them to keep the chairs, the privilege, and I suggested always to have the hearing as having the hearing of the criminals in the very first moment, because the mobilization as new mafia goes from public departments and public corruption. It means that they are in operating, they are the operators, they are the tactical mobilization and organization, and the strategic design when we cut the relation as operators, which are the criminals standard. They are forced to act in a very first moment. The actions goes by illicit advantages concurrent association based on misuse use of prerogatives in general observed from public budget. But at the second moment, we observe that they will use the exploitation as prestige to keep themselves at the position and transfer the blame and the guiltiness for others, including that crap named a deep web scam, which is modified the records and data on public departments and corporative offices. But we observe that if this goes under a monitoring procedure, indeed we are observing the decreasement of capacity and legitimacy to operate regular on regular areas. See, of course, that if this goes as a conjuncture, this conjuncture will have no legitimacy to present any kind of regular solution. And as we told you before, during the COVID-19 and other international events, especially in Brazil, in general, when you have an international even in a local area, the only thing that will cover the entire local area is the public service. See? And of course that the public service as a conjunctural failure will carry with the criminal records. And we have this in the same way. And if the international judicial system doing the analysis of systematic aggressions and systematic behavior and have the requirement as these kind of records, of course that if you modify your criminal records and your subsidiary data as criminal data, you committed obstruction of justice from one more time from institutions and the continuity of this by the elements inside. There's no escape. You committed a lot of crimes and you must be under international punishment by this. Reviewing and finish our conversation today, we have the comparative relation between two structures with technical staff. At the technical staff, we will observe that we have a common element that can be a security or something like this, and this kind of stimulus will bring ourselves to the concurrent interest or concurrent field of the two both structures plus the technical levels here. Then we'll check inside the common element, which is a consequence of the common interest. We will observe that some specific driver or element will do the stimulation as continuity of this, and this goes by the highlighted leadership inside this box machine or box as depuration. The functional relation considering the parallelism as two structures can be observed by the causal relation as association with intercourse by the common instrument used to bring them, and this is indeed a complementary as relation. We study this on Venn diagram, which is that situation here when you have the structure here, the other structure here, we observe that this area in the middle indeed is this area here. See, or we can have a bit more detail considering that this area here will be the box machine, and inside the box machine we set something, and this area here will be this guy here. We finish our presentation. Have a nice weekend. All penalties and financial consequences by law, it's the hellbound use for the individualization that is mostly, flawless. Have a good day.